Have you ever wondered what really makes people act? I mean, what truly makes them say yes? It's usually not the features or the benefits or all the logical arguments you spend so much time putting together. The real decision, well, that happens on a much deeper level. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the instinctual impulse architecture, the hidden wiring that can create a compulsive biological yes. Let's dig in. I want you to just sit with us for a second. Right now, as we speak, your customer, your client, whoever you're trying to reach, they're telling you a story. They'll say they care about pricing, they'll say they care about features, about getting approval. But what if that's all just noise? What if the real decision is being driven by forces they aren't even consciously aware of? Well, the fact is, their biology is hunting for something else entirely. And this leads us to the biggest mistake in most marketing and sales. It's something called the Rational Actor Fallacy. It's this belief we all have that people are these super logical creatures, weighing pros and cons in a neat little spreadsheet in their heads before they make a choice. We build all our arguments for this logical person, but here's the thing, that person doesn't really exist, and we're about to find out why. So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with the customer paradox. Then we'll get some context with the feature saturation crisis. Now, the real heart of this is the 7 hidden desires that actually run the show. We'll get into the science of it all with the psychology of the hijack. And then we'll make it practical by building your impulse engine. And we'll wrap it all up with one final powerful insight. All right, let's start with this fundamental conflict, this gap between what people say they want and what they actually do. And this isn't about people being dishonest. It's about biology. It's about understanding who, or more like what part of them, you're actually talking to. So think of it like this. In every conversation, you're talking to 2 different parts of the brain. When you throw out facts, data, and specs, you're talking to the prefrontal cortex. That's the new logical part. And its response? It's slow, it's careful, it gives you what feels like a book report. But the real CEO, the one with the final say, is the limbic system. This is the old, primal part of the brain. It couldn't care less about your spreadsheets. It cares about survival, emotion, instinct. And when you learn to speak its language, you don't get a book report. You get a gut-level, immediate yes. So how did we get to a place where this became so critical? I mean, why is understanding this not just a cool advantage, but an absolute necessity for survival today? Well, the answer is in a pretty recent but really profound crisis that hit the market. So around the mid-2020s, the game just completely changed. Technology made it so easy for everyone to have great features. Suddenly, all the software, all the services, all the products, they kind of started to look the same. That old idea of having a competitive advantage just evaporated. And that created a massive crisis. You had brands just shouting their specs into a void, but nobody was listening. Logically perfect ads were bombing. And the realization was kind of brutal. The market wasn't about being logically better anymore. It was about tapping into ancient biology. And this is the key. Marketing had to evolve. It wasn't just about communicating anymore. It became about activation. So that brings us to the core of this whole thing. If we need to activate instinct, what are the triggers? What are the buttons we can push that just bypass all the logic and talk directly to that primal brain? Well, we're about to look under the hood. I want you to think of this not as just some simple checklist. Think of it as a powerful, interconnected system. This is the impulse activation engine. It's made up of 7 deep core desires that are basically the hidden currents guiding everything we do. And here's the rule. If your message isn't hitting at least 2 of these, you are, for all intents and purposes, invisible. So here they are, the 7 hidden desires. We've got status, safety, intimacy, freedom, health, wealth, and pleasure. Now, look, on the surface, they seem pretty straightforward, right? But don't let that fool you. Their real power comes from their deep, ancient, evolutionary roots. We're going to unpack every single one because understanding them isn't just helpful, it's everything. Let's kick it off with status. At our core, we're tribal animals. For thousands of years, our survival and our shot at finding a mate depended completely on where we stood in the tribe's hierarchy. This isn't about vanity. It's a survival instinct burned into our code. We have this unshakable biological need to outrank other people. Just think about why someone buys a luxury watch that tells the exact same time as a cheap one. The decision is totally irrational because it's not about the function, it's about the signal. It's about climbing that social ladder. Next up is safety, and honestly, this might be the most powerful trigger of them all. Our brains are not wired for optimism. They are wired to spot threats and to not die. It's the whole idea of loss aversion. The fear of losing something is a way bigger motivator than the hope of gaining something of the same value. It's why insurance companies don't sell you peace of mind. They sell you protection from absolute catastrophe. When you frame what you offer as a shield against disaster, whether that's financial ruin or security breach, you skip the price conversation completely. The limbic system just hears threat, and its only response is protect. Third is intimacy. We are social creatures through and through. For our ancestors, getting kicked out of the tribe meant certain death. That ancient terror of being alone is literally etched into our DNA. So we have this profound biological need to belong, to feel connected. It's why brands that build a real community, think about Apple users or CrossFitters, are so powerful. People aren't just buying the product, they're buying entry into the tribe. They're buying a defense against their deepest evolutionary fear, being isolated. The fourth desire is freedom. And look, in our world today, the most real form of freedom is time. It's the one resource we can't make more of, we can't negotiate with, and we never, ever get it back. It is the ultimate scarce commodity. So any tool, any service that promises to save us time, to automate some boring task, to give us back hours of our life, is tapping into something incredibly powerful. We're not just buying efficiency, we are literally buying our life back, one precious minute at a time. Okay, number 5, health. This one is all about the primal fear of decay. Every living thing is in this constant battle against falling apart. We are biologically programmed to chase vitality, youth, and energy. It's that drive to feel strong, to push back against the inevitable. It's why the anti-aging industry is worth billions. When you tap into this desire, promising more energy or a way to fight off decline, the wallet just opens. It's a direct appeal to the most fundamental instinct of all, the instinct for life itself. 6th on our list is wealth, but it's so important to look at the subtext here. This isn't just about money or fancy stuff. At its absolute core, the desire for wealth is the desire for resources. And what do resources mean? They mean power. They mean options. It's the ability to control your world and protect yourself from chaos. So when you're selling a tool that gives a founder more control or a platform that gives an investor more options, you are plugging directly into this deep-seated need for power and security. And finally, number 7, pleasure. You know, our brains are wired with a pretty simple command: seek rewards, avoid pain. And pleasure, chemically, is often all about dopamine. That's the neurotransmitter of anticipation. The brain wants the quick fix. It wants the shortcut to feeling good. This is what drives impulse buys for anything offering immediate gratification. From a slice of cake to a TV show you can binge watch, it's all about skipping the long, hard road and getting that hit of dopamine as fast as you can. So we've laid out the 7 buttons, but what's actually going on inside the brain when one of them gets pushed? Let's dive into the science of it, the psychology of the hijack. This is where we go from knowing what works to understanding why it works. The mechanism at play here is called the limbic hijack. So when one of those 7 hot buttons gets pushed just right, it sends this urgent signal directly to the ancient instinctual part of the brain. And that signal is so strong that it basically short-circuits the rational prefrontal cortex. The instinctual brain just takes over. The experts call this a neural capture, where the brain's focus is completely seized by that emotional signal. It's not about tricking anyone. It's about speaking a language the brain is hardwired to prioritize above everything else, the language of survival, status, and emotion. Okay. So understanding the theory is one thing, but actually putting it into practice, that's a whole other ballgame. So now we're going to shift from knowing to doing. Let's look at the actual blueprint for building your very own impulse engine. So this really is the big question, right? How do you actually apply this stuff? How do you turn this biological insight into a framework that actually gets results? Well, it boils down to 3 key steps, and it all starts with a huge shift in how you think about your own product. There are 3 core steps. First, you do what's called a subtext audit. You stop looking at your product's features, and you start asking, which of these 7 nerves does this thing actually touch? Is it status, safety, freedom? And if the answer is none, you probably have a hobby, not a business. Second, you engineer the symptom-first pitch. You don't lead with your solution. You lead with the pain. You poke the nerve. And third, and this is so important, you execute the logic bridge. And this right here is the most crucial, most counterintuitive step of them all, the logic bridge. So listen, the emotional button has been pushed. The limbic system has already screamed yes. The decision is already made. It's only now that you provide the data, the case studies, the ROI calculators. But you're not using this information to persuade them. You are simply giving them a logical alibi. You're arming them with the rational ammo they need to justify their gut decision to themselves or their spouse or their boss. Just remember this, logic doesn't make the sale. It just validates the sale after it's already happened. When you really step back and look at it, this whole architecture is about a massive shift in thinking. It's about moving away from that old model of trying to aggressively persuade people and moving into a new world of deep biological understanding. It's about going from pushing to pulling. See, when you understand these hidden desires, these real aches that drive people, you stop trying to shove them through a funnel. Instead, you create something that naturally pulls them in because it speaks to a fundamental part of who they are. You're not just a vendor anymore, you're an answer to an ancient biological need. And that brings us to our final thought. The best marketing doesn't push people through a funnel, it pulls them toward value.